Hi, everybody. We're getting some attendees. 38. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'll just give a couple more minutes for people to come on and join us today. 38 attendees. $40. Just give it a couple more minutes, seconds. Like I do in my physical meetings. I wait just a couple more minutes in case anybody's stuck in traffic. So if you're having a couple of minutes getting from your living room to your home office, we'll just give you a couple seconds in case you're stuck in traffic there. And while we're having everybody joining us, I want to let you know that working from home is a new norm right now, and I miss all my chamber peeps and members. So I wanted to pull up a picture that I took one day that I had a full room when people were joining me to learn more about our benefits. And I'll move my head here, and there is a full boardroom at the Halifax Chamber with all these folks learning more about the benefits we offer. So I wanted to share that picture with you today and be surrounded with great people. All right, 10:02. I think we can get started. All right, so we'll get started for those of you who are joining and on board. We have 40 attendees with us today. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm sure I know most of you. I did take a peek at the guest list last night. I'm Barbie Holland. I'm sales consultant with the Halifax Chamber. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to Navigating COVID-19 webinar series. We have a series of webinars. And today, our very special guest from Sandler Training is joining us. Today, we're talking about virtual selling, just as we're doing. We know COVID-19 has made a huge impact on a lot of our jobs and how we do things. I've been in sales for a long time, and nothing works better for me than an in-person meeting. So now what? How do we sell? And should we be selling? That is a big question. Curtis with Sandler Training is here to help us with all of that. But before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know. Hi, Curtis. Shout out to Curtis. Before we get started, I want to let everyone know about the Chamber's resource page. We've been working hard every day from our home offices, getting this updated for our members and the business community at large. We update it daily with new information about funding programs for businesses and individuals. So be sure to share that with your staff. Grab the link and copy it. Where to shop local, our webinars, the 3 levels of government. So certainly share that information to anybody that you feel would benefit from what we're doing, the work we're doing. So visit Halifax Chamber, look under the resources tab for all the info that we've collected in the past month. We're doing it for our members. Please visit that and our events page. We're also hosting webinars daily, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, so we can keep you busy. Check out our events lineup and see what our topics are. We have a broad range of webinars. So we do have some questions to get started today, but Curtis, we're chatting earlier, and he has a great presentation lined up. It'll be about 40, 45 minutes for you, so grab your coffee, sit back, and enjoy what we have to talk about. We are welcoming your questions. There's a Q&A at the bottom of the navigation tool, and we'll answer as many questions as we can get to, given that Curtis might not have covered it in his presentation, as we can in this hour. So now it's my pleasure to officially introduce Curtis to you. Curtis Hamilton is the Director of Training at Sandler. He has been in the corporate training and development world for 15 years and had made a name for himself by helping businesses ranked on the Entrepreneur Franchise Top 500 list, ground level startups in the Halifax area, and helping executives capitalize on the growth and scalability through a sound sales process. We all know how important that is. Curtis, welcome, and we are so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Barbie. And before we start, I just want to thank yourself, Barbie, and Kyla, and Chris, and Becky, everyone at the Chamber, for not only inviting Sandler, but putting on these webinars. I think it's fantastic that you guys are injecting this into the business community, and we're just really excited to be a part of it. So thank you for having us today.
You're very welcome. So I think without any further ado, we'll let you just get right into it. Everybody's on here to learn about what we do now in the sales world during COVID.
Isn't that the million-dollar question right now, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you guys, and we'll get into this. Perfect. So again, thank you for having us. I know Eric Fry, our president, says hello to everyone on the webinar today. He wishes he could be here. He's helping a client right now that's in a little bit of a crisis, and he's being Batman, I guess you could say, for them right now. So what we're going to talk about today, guys, is something that is top of mind for a lot of businesses, not only in the Atlantic Canada area, but I guess worldwide, you could really say. Sales has really pivoted from this face-to-face interaction and these conversations that we're used to having face-to-face to something that's being done now virtually. So a lot of things have changed, and we're going to talk about the 5 common mistakes that people make when they try to sell virtually. And we're also going to work on some foundational things that we teach inside the Sandler programming that really help executives and sales teams move forward in crises like this. So using the chat, guys, I really like to keep these webinars or these presentations interactive if possible. So, the first question I want to ask you guys is, what has been the toughest thing for you in working/selling from home in this new normal? Maybe we can get a little bit of chat going on in the chat application just to see what people are sort of struggling with right now. I'll just throw that out to the group. What's been the toughest thing for you guys working/selling from home in this new normal? Clients are in survival mode, absolutely. Access to customers, that's a great one, Alan. Identify, yes. What is appropriate? Yeah, absolutely. Questions that we see all the time, receiving a response to emails or LinkedIn messages. Okay, outstanding. So just off of those first few that we're getting, this is definitely something that we've been dealing with for the last, I'm going to say the Sandler team, the last month, really working with our clientele. So I think we might be able to help you out a little bit here today, guys. Next question. Again, let's keep this interactive. What is one best practice that you have consciously implemented that is having a positive impact on your day? So what is something that you've implemented that's been positive in your day? Maybe we can go there just really quick. Regular team check-ins, absolutely. Keeping structure, I love it. Very good. Exercise and check-ins, very good. Increased communications with the team, contractors and clients, very good. And that seems to see that, that's a pattern that we've been seeing over the last month or so, is that, increase in check-ins with clients or your teams. These are all silver linings that we're able to see through this hard time, right? So today's agenda, guys, very, very simple and clean here. We're going to talk about the mindset and why that's really, really critical right now when trying to sell virtually. We're going to touch on the necessary behavioral changes that need to happen in order to sell virtually. I'm sure that a lot of you can attest to that behaviors at home and selling remotely are a lot different than selling face-to-face. So developing your activity-based success plans. And then we're going to talk about some best practices in working from home, best practices running a virtual meeting, could be a sales meeting, could be a team meeting, and best practices in selling in the new normal. So one thing that we stress here at Sandler is this success triangle. And I won't spend too much time on this, but really the essence of this is, in order to be successful, especially selling virtually right now, we need to really take a look at our behaviors and what we're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I mean, looking at a world down the road or forecasting for our businesses, if you're a sales manager or an owner of a business, we really need to be looking at what behaviors are we going to need to interject into our days in order to move us forward and to make us successful. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. The big thing that I really want to stress is our attitudes. And, we've been working a lot with our executive clientele over the last month here at Sandler on just that, our attitudes. Attitudes have obviously changed since this pandemic has interjected into the business community. But we really need to take a look at our attitudes right now, not only our personal attitudes, but maybe the cultural attitude within our team. And we're also going to talk a little bit about techniques, and that's going to come down more so to technology and understanding our techniques within technology and how to leverage it. And if we take that attitude triangle and we blow that up, and again, we teach this in our sales mastery course, but we really want to kind of blow that attitude triangle up into our organization, you know, our attitude towards our organization right now, our attitude towards the market, which is a massive thing that we need to look at. And more importantly, our attitude towards ourselves. So our body, mind, and spirit. You know, there's already been some people on the chat that have mentioned, you know, getting workouts in. I think that that is absolutely pivotal right now for your attitude to be healthy, not only in mind, body, but also in your spirit. So that is very, very important. Again, we're talking about selling here today, but the thing is, and the crux is, when you're selling virtually, you can't pick up on those tones, right? You can't really be in the same room as someone, and that body language becomes a little tougher to read. That's why having a good attitude is really going to be contagious during a time like this. So it is our responsibility to be high performers, right? And what I mean by this is we really need to take ownership and having this sort of sense over, we need to own our outputs, right? I'm going to say that again. We need to own our outputs. So if we're business owners or we're people that are really trying to stay afloat in a time like this, we really need to own our outputs, and we need to be intentional with our outputs day to day. And don't get me wrong, you know, Sandler, we've been, you know, in the same boat as everybody else. We're a business to business business. We sell things, we sell services. It's not easy right now. It's a tough market, but we really try to have the mindset of really wanting to be high performers and really show our clients that we're in it to win it, so to speak. And we're owning our outputs every day. So here are the 5 common virtual selling mistakes that we have noticed in the last month that a lot of businesses are sort of making, and we're trying to help them with it. So here's your 5 questions that I want you to ask yourself right now if you're on this webinar. Are you prepared? Meaning technology. How versed are you in technology? It could be things like different social media platforms. We're not really talking about things like TikTok or Instagram, unless that's your clientele and that's where they're hiding, but more so things like LinkedIn and, you know, even Facebook to a certain extent, but really understanding how those platforms work from an algorithm standpoint, but also what sort of content you're putting out there in order to show value to your prospects. Are you following the 70-30 rule? You know, listening 70% of the time and, you know, asking questions 30% of the time. The last few classes that I've been running with our sales mastery class, we've kind of made it an 80-20 rule. It's very important now to be listening, especially when you're on webinars or virtual sessions like this. I've done this for a long time. I have done virtual training for a long time. I know personally that 60% of the people that are on this webinar right now are doing something else at this particular moment. They're either checking their email, they're on their phone, they're doing something else, and I understand that. But when you're holding sales meetings, it's really, really pivotal that you kind of shut everything else off and you're focused right on your prospect or whoever you're dealing with. Very critical right now. Are you clear on your intentions? So a lot of people that are trying to sell virtually right now haven't really talked about that. What is my intention? You know, have you adjusted your questioning? How you're going to be approaching clients is a lot different than when it was face-to-face. Are you following a strategy? And this is a big one. A lot of people have shifted a couple things, but they haven't really put a really solid strategy in place, not only for now, but post-COVID. What does that look like? You know, how does it smoothly transition from where we are now into a world that, you know, is a little, the dust has settled a little bit and we're able to sort of get back to some normalcy? What does that look like? And do you have a strategy for whatever platform you're trying to sell on right now? Whether your shop is, you know, through Shopify, or you're using other applications to sell online. If you're trying to leverage, you know, things like LinkedIn, are you understanding the platform and how that works? And the last one here is, are you investing time into building your virtual network and your brand personally? So a lot of businesses now are really looking not so much for vendors, they're looking for trusted advisors right now. And that's really what we stress here at Sandler is we really want people to understand that we need to get out of that vendor space. And I say that because, you know, people right now are really looking for connection, collaboration, but they really want help. They want to know that they're supported. And that really is the approach that we want to be taking with prospective clients and also clients that you already have, right? They're looking for you to be that trusted advisor. So how much time or strategy have you put into building your virtual network and your personal brand online? Something to have a look at. So these are the 5 common mistakes that we see when selling virtually, and we'll try to have a look at each of those right now. So using chat, what is one unintended positive consequence from this new normal? Maybe we can get some chat going on the side from that question. So what is one unintended positive consequence of the new normal that you guys are seeing? Keeping communication open with customers. I love that. What's being more direct? I love that. Very good. Gives an excuse to reach out to customers more often, more efficient. Very good. More check-ins with the team. I love that, Lori. So as we can see, guys, there are positives that will come from this. And really, it's that mindset. Remember, it's that attitude that we need to have when trying to sell virtually. So what mindsets do we need? Well, if we take a look at this belief wheel, we need to have those beliefs. Obviously, we're going to be making judgments, which lead to actions, which lead to results. So we really want to be taking a look at this belief wheel and understanding that, when we go into a sales opportunity, whether you're trying to sell virtually, whether you're trying to sell online, it really doesn't matter. Sales is sales, but we really need to have the belief that we can get this done, right? So if your business is struggling right now, what we've really tried to work with, on the executives that we have inside the Sandler program is really working on that belief and getting rid of that head trash that we call it in our programs, and really understanding that we got to have the beliefs. We know that there's going to be judgments there on both sides, but there needs to be actions and then results. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. So here are some mindsets to take into consideration. Our clients need us now more than ever. That's the mindset we really need to have when we're trying to sell virtually. They need us right now. You are built for situations like this. We need to be telling ourselves this. We will remain true to our vision, our mission, and the way that we do things. Absolutely, businesses might need to pivot in a time like this, and that's understandable, but really remaining true to your vision, your mission, and the way that you do certain things is really imperative. People are craving connection, communication, and collaboration right now, as I already mentioned. And one thing to look at when you're trying to sell virtually is this idea of collaboration and strategic partnerships is something that I'm seeing, a lot in the marketplace right now. Even with local businesses here in Atlantic, Canada, teaming up, whether they might be in the food industry or, whatnot, but we see a lot of businesses sort of working together in creating little shops online where they can all sell their products together. So strategic partnerships is something that you may want to have a look at. I will focus on the positive. Always want to be focused on that positive, right? And there is lots of it out there. We just need to look for it. There's always opportunity. Again, this is a mindset we need to have. And, I will double down and not hunker down, meaning I really want to double down on things that are working right now rather than going and hiding, right? We know that if you're on this session right now, that you're a fighter and you want to help people and you want to move your business forward. So that's a great mindset to have. I am respectful in all communications. This is very important. And, we were talking before the webinar began, Barbie and I were having a small discussion, and it is really about being respectful in this time, right? We need to be empathetic. We need to be caring. We really need to take a caring approach when we're talking with prospective customers right now or prospective clients, even current clients. We really need to have that level of empathy and respect and caring. It's so pivotal right now. So here, another question I want to throw out to the group here is, what's one mindset worth adopting in this new normal? What's one mindset worth adopting in this new normal? What do you guys think? Learning plan totally refreshed. Okay. We're going to make it through this. Absolutely. We will get through this. We have the tools that can help. Lower expectations, but in a good way. Absolutely, Vanessa. Right? These are all great mindsets to have. that your product is worth, even if it has, yes, absolutely. What you're selling right now, what you're trying to inject into the business community is worth it. That's a fantastic mindset to have. Okay, so the big thing that we want to talk about here, and obviously a lot of people on this call are on this session because they want to be selling stuff. And active versus passive prospecting is something we really, really try to stress here at Sandler. And basically the difference is this: active prospecting is learning absolutely everything you can about your prospect. Every single thing you can right now. And we really need to be defining our activities when we're doing that. So for instance, if you know where your ideal customer is and you've done your, an ideal avatar sort of for your ideal customer, you need to be going on these platforms and searching for these people and understanding what these people are going through. We might understand that they went from a double income family to, no income, and they're living on EI right now. So their buying strategies are a lot different than they used to be a month ago. And we really need to take this into consideration when we're trying to sell things. And I guess that's that empathetic sort of approach, but we really need to take that into consideration. What is the buying cycle look like for our potential customers, right? So active versus passive prospecting. There's all sorts of different ways that we can go about doing this, but really the crux of it is learn absolutely everything you can about your prospect and what they're going through right now. So a little tool that we use inside our enterprise selling course that we teach here at Sandler is our LinkedIn Levers tool. And basically all it is, guys, is writing down some questions about your ideal market, your ideal customer, and trying to figure out where they are, right? And this is specific to LinkedIn, but we really want to go in there and start asking some questions about what you want to know right now as a business owner. So if your sales have sort of went down in the last month or so, right? And we just understand where our ideal customers are. Let's start asking some questions about what they're going through and how we can help them. Really quickly here about LinkedIn. It's one platform that we really stress here at Sandler because this is where all the decision makers are. This is where CEOs, presidents, if you're a business to business sort of business, this is where you're going to find your decision makers, right? If you're selling certain products even right now, this is where people are hanging out. It is a platform that's got over 25 million LinkedIn profiles are viewed every single day. I think there's close to 600 million people on the platform. This is where people are right now. Obviously, they're on platforms as well, like Facebook and things like that. But for the most part, this is where you're going to find your professionals. Some really interesting numbers here. One that I thought was quite interesting is 64%. LinkedIn is responsible for 64% of all visits from social media channels to corporate websites. Let that sink in. 64%. That is a lot, guys, right? So if you don't have a presence right now on LinkedIn, it might be beneficial to sort of look at that. We did a fantastic webinar a couple weeks ago on how to leverage LinkedIn and what that looks like and how to build a solid foundation on LinkedIn. I would highly suggest you go and have a look at that. Right here, LinkedIn generates more leads for business-to-business companies than Facebook, Twitter, or blogging. Unreal. 93% of business-to-business marketers consider LinkedIn to be the most effective site for lead generation. So if you're not on LinkedIn right now, again, this is not a session that's trying to push LinkedIn at all, but I would really highly suggest that you get a presence on there. No matter what product you're selling, there's going to be someone on there that might be able to help you out with a strategic partnership or someone that just wants to buy your product all the same. So what value are you bringing to the table? So when we're looking at platforms like this, we really need to understand what we're bringing to the table. And what that means is, how are you gaining trust from your potential buyers right now? How are you interrupting the pattern? When they're scrolling, obviously this goes into your marketing strategies, but why are they going to stop and look at one of your posts, right? Value offer or the value add. When you're posting content, are you simply just curating stuff and sharing it? Or are you coming up with something strategically that can add value to your potential market? Really, really so vital that we start thinking this way. What platform have you committed to? So again, at Sandler, we stress the use of social media, but we also sort of want you to niche down, right? We understand that social media has a lot of different platforms. I've already mentioned a bunch of them, but maybe commit to one right now and go all in on it, right? Make it simple for yourself. Don't have all these different channels going and, you know, this needs to get posted there and that needs to get posted here, and your confusion starts to happen. Commit to one platform, learn it inside and out, and learn how to leverage it. That's what we're really trying to stress here at Sandler. Again, what value you're bringing to the table. This is just a snapshot of, you know, using the algorithm within LinkedIn. These are the 5 components of, you know, that you can really have a look at that will bring massive value to your network. So short form text posts, photos right now, documents, long form published articles, and native and live video. So we know that video is a massive thing right now. And we understand that a lot of prospective clients and potential buyers really want to know what you're going through as well with your business. There's a layer of humanity in there and transparency. And we're noticing that the more transparent that businesses are being with their market, you know, sales might not be where they are, but they're able to generate some traction that way. So really opening up to your market and letting them see what you're sort of going through is something that may benefit you guys. But these would be the 5 sort of avenues that you would want to look at with whatever platform you're sort of looking at, right? So how are you going to act over the days ahead? So what needs to change? So when you're looking at your sales system or your sales process, hopefully you have a process that's in place that you can follow. If not, then that really needs to be where you start, right? You got to have a process in place. And the reason we say that at Sandler is this COVID-19 pandemic is really making a lot of businesses understand that metrics and data are going to be our best friend, not only when this is done, but right now, because it's going to really help us spearhead where people are, where they're hanging out, and how we can best support them. What needs to stay the same? Not everything needs to change in a time like this, right? Maybe you've got some really good behaviors in place for prospecting that's working quite well, or your marketing is working quite well. What we really try to stress is to always be questioning and always trying to be moving forward with it. So using in the chat, what is one behavior, something you can control, an activity, that improves your ability to work or sell remotely? I'll throw that out to the group. So what is one behavior that improves your ability to work or sell remotely? What do you guys think? Constantly showing up, dedicate time each day, sticking to a routine. I love that, routine. Yeah, routine really is a big one, guys. That is one behavior that we really can control when we're looking at your controllables versus your uncontrollables in a time like this. In business in general, a routine, a morning routine, something that you can control that will really help with your, again, your mind, body, and spirit, and moving you into a positive mind frame will really help. And the reason we say this, guys, is because as top performers, as sales executives, people in sales, you know, you're usually judged or graded, or your performance is kind of graded on things like filling your funnel, the amount of calls that you're making, how many prospects you're getting, all of these sort of things, click-through ratios through posts. You know, some of this stuff is controllable, but some of it's not controllable. And when we're looking at emotional intelligence right now, those days where you used to go into the office and check stuff off your to-do list because it was so easy to go in, run your calls, go through all of your funnel activities. It's really hard now working remotely, and we understand that. So that checking off that dopamine to our brains is not really happening. So we really need to be cognizant of what we're doing to really curve our behaviors into a positive mindset. Something to take into consideration. So here are some things that we want to take a look at. So revise your cookbook. So at Sandler, we call the cookbook really is our plan of action when we're looking at our sales and trying to pack our funnels. So things that have been on pause are in-person sales calls, travel, trade shows, things like that are all paused right now. Things that we really need to look at are things like video conferences, LinkedIn emails, cold calls, emails, again, teleconferences, and virtual strategic account management is something that really comes down to organization and really understanding your market. So we really need to start leaning, again, on technology. Behaviors for working at home. So here are some, a few really solid, I guess, ideas for making sure that your behaviors are going in the right direction from working from home. So designating a workspace, if possible, and have it set up. Keep your Microsoft Teams open or your video open with your team, obviously connecting through Zoom. Use video, internally and in meaningful conversations. When you're trying to sell virtually, no matter what your market, you need to be present. And again, I already discussed how I know that 60% of the people on this session right now are looking at other tabs or doing something else. We need to be present. If you're trying to sell something virtually, you simply won't be successful if you're not present, okay? Very, very, very important. Keep your camera at eye level, just one of those techniques. We don't want to be looking up your nose. We don't want to be too close. We want to have a very professional sort of aspect ratio when it comes to your camera. Don't multitask. Those visual cues are massive right now. If you're trying to sell something or you're in a sales opportunity and the person you're talking to is checking their phone, or there's dings going off, or you're doing other things, that's going to impact your ability to sell. Look into the camera and maintain eye contact as always. Even if you were face-to-face, you would want to do that. So we want you to focus. Put your phone on hotspot in case the internet problems. Again, that's just a little trick, but if you're able to use a hotspot in case you're in an area where you might lose an internet connection, it keeps that meeting going, and it sort of doesn't allow technology to take over. Just a little tip, hardwire to the internet by cable if possible. Obviously, if you've got an Ethernet going right from your wall to your computer, that helps. And use a headset if needed. We've all been on Zoom meetings where people are cutting in and out, or someone is on mute and they're trying to talk. We've all seen that. But one thing to do is to just make sure that you are understanding the technology and how it works for you. Really, really important. Behaviors from working at home again. So knowing your technology. This is really, really imperative, guys. If we're going to be selling virtually, whether it's your online shop or through Zoom or other platforms where you're talking through cameras, you've got to understand your technology. Know how it works. Know how to share your screen. Know how to unmute and mute people. Know how to pull people into the meetings. Very, very important and very easy to get this information. You simply just have to go to Google and type in how to run a Zoom meeting, and it can help you out. The use of other applications for emails. So maybe you can give me just a giant yes in the chat bar if you've been inundated with emails since this pandemic has started. Give me a yes if you're getting a ton of emails. There we go. Yes, yes, crazy. Yes. Okay. So everyone's in the same boat. So if you're trying to sell something, whether you're leveraging a list that you might have in MailChimp or something from Salesforce, whatever CRM that you're using right now that you're trying to leverage, really try to understand that your prospects are getting a ton of emails right now, like an overwhelming amount of emails. So what we're trying to teach at Sandler is really how to stand out. So you can use applications like Loom or BombBomb. Just two of the applications you can use to send video emails. I've been doing it with our executive groups here. So instead of typing a big long email about what we covered, I'll simply turn on my camera, push record, and I will talk to my people that I'm sending the email to about what we covered, some key takeaways from the lesson, and what's coming up in the next lesson. Very short, sweet. It's about 40 seconds to a minute, and that's it. And what it does is it allows you to stick out from the crowd. We know that sales is a slight edge business, and whatever little edge you can have right now with your prospects is going to help you. So when you're thinking about emails or emailing your prospects, I would highly suggest that you go have a look at applications like Loom or BombBomb. Do an internet speed test. So if your internet is slow and you're choppy on these calls, let's go do a speed test. Go to Eastlink, type in speed test. You can do it on the application on your phone as well. Let's see how fast your internet connection is. Maybe you might need to get that fixed. Use time blocks for important non-urgent activities. I have 60% here. we really talk about, 60% of your day should be spent on needle moving activities for your business, right? I'll say that again, 60% of your day should be spent on needle moving activities. You're gonna have to define those needle moving activities. What are those activities that help you get sales, right? Spend your day on those. Develop a morning routine. These become atomic habits. Develop an evening routine, very, very important as well for your mind, body, and soul, just to slow down at night. Because working remotely, I understand, I've been doing it for over a decade. Working from home can be hard. And Barbie and I and Kayla were talking about how it's sort of become Groundhog Day. Every day is sort of blending into the next. That's why it's very, very crucial that you have your morning routine, your evening routine to sort of settle your body. Start journaling. I won't get into that, but I'm a huge advocate of journaling, and I have my performance journal that I go through every single morning, every single night. It really helps, guys. So that's just a little tactic. All right, so let's get into some I guess, techniques here. So running a virtual meeting, if you're trying to sell something, again, know your technology, turn on your video. It's always best practice to have your video on when you're presenting. Make sure your profile name is accurate and professional. If you haven't changed your profile name on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're on since university or high school, maybe have a look at it. Send draft agendas in advance for the meeting, always works. Let people know what you're talking about. Because who would agree with me right now in the chat and just give me a yes, that time is our absolute greatest asset right now? Give me a massive yes in the chat if really taking ownership over your time is really important. Yes, okay, lots of yeses. Again, if you're meeting with a prospect, even assigning them homework to foster engagement might help, right? If you're trying to sell them something, if you're a business to business, and you're really wanting to get the client's business, then send them some work. Send them some white papers or documents or testimonials that you've done for other clients to really help them out and really foster that engagement. So during your meeting, take some time up front to get the other party comfortable with technology. So if you're meeting with someone that is not comfortable with technology in a sales meeting, walk them through how it works. Walk them through how to unmute, or if they have questions, or if they want to share PDFs, always best practice. Always record virtual meetings if possible. And that's for obvious reasons, to go back and talk about what might have been discussed. Always have an upfront contract about the rules of engagement. So at Sandler, we talk about upfront contracts and the importance of upfront contracts. And that basically is just the time, the agenda that your prospect might be coming with, your agenda as well as a sales executive, and just clear next steps for what's going to happen after today's meeting. But there might be children. This is what we got to understand, is that people are working remotely now, so there's going to be interruptions. We need to be our best selves and understand that there's children and pets. Ask people to turn on their videos. We want to see that face-to-face if we can. One thing I would really stress here is share the silence rule and be mindful of humor. So humor, via virtual selling, in my experience over the last decade doing this, is just be really, really mindful of how you're using humor. Okay, and I'll leave it at that. Ask them to use the chat liberally as well. We're doing that right now through this session. It's great to get interaction. Each person to identify themselves before speaking. Obviously, in your sales meeting, you want to know who's on the call. We've all been on, conference calls where we don't know certain people are on. We know that they have beeped in, but they don't tell who's on the call. That creates a weird atmosphere. So we really want to be transparent with everything that we can via virtual selling. Let them know that the facilitator will call and ask them for feedback throughout the meeting. So we need them to know that we're going to be asking for feedback, much like I'm doing with you guys here today, throughout the meeting. I want to keep this interactive and let them know ahead of time. So after you've run a sales meeting, you want to leave on time and at the end take their temperature, meaning on how did that go? Is there anything else that we need to discuss right now? Again, getting a very clear picture for next steps, set clear action steps, take out your calendars while you're on the meeting. Obviously best practices there, right guys? So email a summary and a clear action items, copy all the appropriate people, video message PDFs. You can follow your virtual meeting up with something like a Loom message or a BombBomb message where it's not an email, it's an actual video again. I think that that's fantastic. And just remember, the faintest ink is better than the strongest memory. So be writing things down where at all possible. So here we go. Let's talk about some techniques now for virtual selling. So we all remember where we were on 9/11. So we really want you guys to be ready for this moment. New engagement questions, you know, again, that empathetic approach to people. How is this situation impacting you, right? How is this impacting your industry, your market, your company? And most importantly, how is this impacting you? This might be a situation where, and I know that we'll probably get into this, but should I be selling at all right now? If my service is not an essential service for COVID, how am I supposed to sell? Well, and the answer to that is, you know, there's people out there that want to buy your product. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business right now. So it's just your approach. And we really try to stress that at Sandler, is that your approach needs to be that of empathetic, you know, sympathetic in some situations, but caring. We're not in the business of convincing people. If you're trying to convince people to buy your product, you know, that's a really dangerous place to be. That's in that vendor space again that I discussed. We really want you to be in that trusted advisor space. So really understanding what's going on with your customer individually, with their company, and in their marketplace will really help you move forward. Building relationships. Look at the opportunity for sincerity and engage. Like, we want you to be sincere with your prospects or your potential buyers. That's why I was saying, let them into your world via social media. Put a video up and let them know what's going on with you and your team, how you're trying to, you know, switch up things during COVID, or what you're doing to improve your culture during COVID. Are you pivoting? Let them know. Look for the opportunity to be personable, significant, and be unexpected. Again, those Loom messages, those bomb messages, those email follow-ups that are videos, that's unexpected. That will stick out. You need to be a bright light, you know, in their day. That's very, very important to remember, right? We want to be the bright part of their day when at all possible. Your enthusiasm and needs to be contagious. This can be done through your marketing campaigns, your strategies, however you're approaching your certain clients. Take that into consideration, right? Our enthusiasm, our positivity needs to be contagious. This will help with sales. We've seen it with executives that we're helping right now in our programs. This stuff works, guys. Have a virtual lunch if you can with your client, right? I guess it's having that lunch via Zoom if you can. Virtual coffee, much like we do here in the mornings when we run our seminars, and send a handwritten note or a video message where at all possible. So please share any additional best practices on building relationships. What has worked for you guys right now during COVID? On building relationships with your clients. What has worked for you guys right now? Give you a second to type that into the box. Understanding and empathy. Absolutely, John. So important. Caring counts big time. Absolutely. You know, and yes, absolutely caring. Taking that extra minute, right? And it's so imperative, guys, especially in Atlantic, Canada. I'm originally from Toronto. I moved here 8 years ago. And just the people in Atlantic, Canada, you know, stole my heart. And I understand that they're going through a lot right now, but the caring and the empathetic approach, it might not give you immediate sales now, but I'm telling you, down the road, in good kind, if we're able to leverage that and really build really solid relationships and show our customers that we can help, this is where virtual selling becomes almost like a relationship or a relationship builder tool, right? Something to take into consideration here, I'm going to be wrapping up here in the next few minutes, guys, so we can have some question time. But is it an appropriate time right now to be looking at a sales opportunity with whatever, you know, potential client that you're talking to? Use respectful language, things like no worries if there's interruptions in children. Would you be comfortable making it a web call when at all possible? We try to stress a web call would be best. Remember, communication, collaboration, and connection. Now more than ever with, you know, we're all isolated right now. So having that collaboration and connection time is really important. Review what got you this meeting. So again, those metrics, I'll go back to it. Understand what really worked. If you're in a sales meeting and you leverage LinkedIn to get in front of a decision maker and you're now in the meeting and then post meeting, Really review what worked and what didn't. How did you get this client? Ask if anything has changed since the last time you spoke. Obviously, things are changing daily now, so that's a really important question. And have a clear purpose for the meeting. Obviously, we don't want to be wasting anyone's time, but I also understand, having done this for a long time and running a lot of webinars, is that when we get on virtual meetings like this, even with our team sometimes, we have the best of intentions with an agenda and things just sort of go sideways, right? Give me a yes in the chat bar if that's happened to you, where you have the best of intentions for a meeting and it sort of just kind of goes off the rails a little bit. Yeah, large yes, absolutely, yes, okay. And that's just natural, right? That just shows you that people want that communication and that collaboration and that connection, but just be really respectful of people's time. Setting expectations up front. So give them permission to say no. Give multiple versions of what a yes means. Maybe you and your team need to look at what a yes looks like right now for your sales funnel. End the day with clearly defined, in calendar meetings with expectations. That is so important, guys. Like, if we're getting off sales meetings that are done virtually like this, it's all too easy to be like, okay, we'll let you go now, we'll end the call. Make sure that you have really clear next steps. Again, the faintest ink is better than the strongest memory. Pain and questioning strategies. These are emotional times, right? So pain questions are things that we really want to be taking into consideration, but we also want to be approaching with respect. There are a lot of businesses and people out there that are in a lot of pain. So leveraging pain is a good thing, but it also has to be done correctly, right? We know that moving away from a negative consequence is a 5 times better motivator than moving toward a positive one. We understand that people buy on emotion and justify it intellectually, right? People buy emotionally. People are emotional right now. We're not in the business of taking advantage of people either, right? But we need to understand that if you have a business right now and you're trying to increase your sales, sales is always, always, always best when we're trying to really fix that pain point that someone has. So that's why you're selling things, okay? So understand that it's okay to be leveraging pain, but you have to be doing it in a very tactful manner. That this concentric circle approach where the prospect, company, marketplace, and industry come into play, those are the 4 things that we really want to be focusing on when you're looking at pain questions. And here's just our in-depth pain and questioning strategies, sort of like pendulum that we would use to dig deeper with our clients. Now more than ever might be an opportunity for you to really ramp up your abilities to sell on emotion, right? Again, people buy emotionally and they will justify it intellectually. So we need to take a look at that. And you need to take a look at sort of your strategy for questioning, right? What kind of emotional questions are we asking in our marketing materials? When I get on sales calls with prospective clients, am I using enough pain-centered questions to ask them about their marketplace or their their industry right now? What are you seeing that's, a pain point for people in your marketplace? Doesn't even have to be them directly yet, but we will get there. So that's it for my presentation today, but what I would love to do is kind of, I guess, open it up to the group for questions. Is that what we're doing, Barbie?
Let me get off mute here. Yes. Hi. Yes, we are opening it up for questions. And one has come in. I will share that. It's from Mary Jane Wells. Great question. Do you believe you should maintain your same pricing strategy or that you need to be adjusting prices as people's budgets have changed?
Yeah, and that's a question that we get often, right? We've been really trying to field that question over the last month. It's Mary Jane that sent that question? Yeah, Mary Jane. So with something like that, what we've been really working on our executive groups with is, obviously you don't want to devalue your product, right? It's a situation where there's a fine line between devaluing your product and really understanding maybe a different sales strategy. I don't know if you're able to change the pricing on your I guess, whatever you're offering right now, because people are not buying as much, but we really need to be cognizant of, if we decrease our price so much, and this, that's why we're talking about strategy. Post-COVID, then what do we have to do, right? So maybe there's a fine line, and that's what we've been working on our executive teams with, is really looking at their pricing and sort of what's working and what's not right now. And maybe there's something in the middle that you might be able to come up with. But I would just be cognizant of devaluing it to a certain point where COVID is sort of settled down, and now you need to up your price again, where you might have had a lot of customers that become accustomed to that price, and now you're going to jack it up again. So just something to be cognizant of.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions out there? Just drop them in the Q&A at the bottom. If you have any other questions, now's your time, folks, salespeople. Now's your time to get some of those answers or questions answered by Curtis.
And there's one there that came up in the chat, but sometimes it's necessary for everyone is worried. Sometimes you need to just listen. I totally agree, Denise, right? Like it's so important that we do listen to our potential prospects. And that's why we really try to understand what they're going through. Where are they hiding right now on social media that we can speak with them, talk to them about their industry, their market, and sort of their pains that they're seeing individually. Absolutely, though. I agree that we need to listen.
I have a question. What if what you're selling doesn't relate to COVID, to the current COVID situation? How can you still make the virtual sales relevant and important if it's not COVID related?
Absolutely. And that's a fantastic question. And it's a question that my wife brought up to me this morning when I told her I was presenting to the chamber. She said, well, what if your product is not, a necessity for COVID? How do you sell that? And my rebuttal is there's a market always for what you're selling, right? There'll always be someone out there that wants your product. That's why I really stress strategic partnerships right now, if you're able to do it. I've seen it a lot through a lot of friends of mine that own businesses in Atlantic Canada. They've been really leveraging strategic partnerships, but it's hard. If it's not an essential service, it's really difficult to try to sell something. But this is where, as business owners and presidents or CEOs or senior VPs of sales, we really need to get creative with how we're going about selling it. But I would say there's always a market for it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business, right? So just find the people out there.
Thank you. And a good segue into our next question from Nova Scotian Crystal. Hi there. What about promotions during this time? How does that look?
Yeah, absolutely. And another great question, right? And I guess we can use Sandler as a prime example of that. We put on a 2-week webinar series where we were holding free webinars with material that we usually charge, in some cases, thousands of dollars to deliver, but we gave it away to our market and the business community for free. Giving away free services right now I guess we really want to help is what we're trying to do. We know that businesses are struggling right now. So what we're able to do at Sandler is help businesses that way. So I guess you could take a look at your business model and whatever you're selling or whatever you're offering. And if you're able to come up with something creative that doesn't put you too much into the red, then you're able to leverage that. Then I would highly suggest it. Absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you. Like maybe we need to look at shopping for Christmas now, supporting our small businesses by buying those gift cards and buying those items and tucking them away for next December and helping them through this time of COVID, really, right?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Barbie. And I know that my household in particularly, we do that. We've been buying, things from like North Brewery, which is a restaurant that our friends own there, Kathy and Brent, side hustle. We've been buying gift cards and helping other places out that we can, because we know down the road, this will help them out, right? So that's a great idea, Barbie. Great idea.
All right, I think we're just about out of time. Like with all chamber events, we like to respect your time and close as appropriately as we can. It's 10:55. So we will have this on recording. We will be sharing it with all our participants. I see a couple of people have asked if it's available for recording. So we will share that with everybody on the call. We have 44 attendees. So thank you again, Chamber Peeps, for joining us. We'd like to thank you, Curtis, for your expertise today. And we do miss Eric on this call. He had other commitments, but you and Eric are doing amazing things over at Sandler, and really, really appreciate your expertise. And thank you to all our attendees. We are hosting webinars every day. So if you enjoyed this one, please take a peek at our events calendar. We have experts in finances and business planning and much more. So please take a peek and join us. head over to our events lineup. And we, like I said, we recorded this webinar, so it will be available for you to share with all of your folks. Another tip that I use in sales, 3 P words are polite, patience, and persistence. So somebody might not want to buy right now, March or April, but what does it look like in June or August or July or September? So make a note and be sure to follow up with them. We are the salespeople, so it's our job to follow up with them and touch base with them at a time that's better for them for buying. So with that, I want to say thanks again to everybody. Happy selling, and give yourselves a big hug, and we will get through this together.
See you later, guys. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you for having me, Barbie. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Curtis. Bye-bye, everybody.